All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Kubernetes SIG Architecture Conformance Sub-Project meeting for February 11th, 2020. And I will display my screen. All right. All right, well, host Hippie Hacker, so I will hand it over to Hippie Hacker.
Thanks for that, John. I'll wait till you say that you've hit recording before I start the thing.
Oh, yes, I recorded. I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the February 12th, 2020 Conformance Sub-Project meeting of SIG Architecture. I'm your host, Hippie Hacker, today, and if anybody wants to take notes, please feel free to step up to the plate. We've tried to populate the agenda accordingly. Do note that there is a code of conduct that we can concisely say, be kind. And first on our agenda today is some updates on our behavior-driven plan by, I assume, John and Jeff. And I'll turn the meeting back over to them shortly, unless I've missed some of the protocols.
Yep, no, that sounds good. Well, the first item, I don't see John Schnocke on the call, but I was hoping to get that this PR, we were waiting for it to merge. I mean, we've been continuing work anyway, right, just based on that PR, but it was approved and LGTM'd, and like there were so many flakes. It was just continuously flaking for like a week. Eventually, now it looks like there might be a legitimate failure, which is strange because I swear that test passed before. And so I was hoping to get an update from John, but I guess he's not here. We'll have to follow up offline. Then we just linked another PR in there. That's something Jeff's working on around the validation of the behaviors and things we put in. And I think Jeffrey has some other things he wants to update us on.
Oh yeah, if you don't mind just clicking into that, the next link after the. I just want to illustrate some of the work that, can you guys hear me fine? I'm using John's mic.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It's fine, you can see it. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I just want to illustrate some of the stuff we've been working on around separating the behaviors and the tests. So in this list here, we separated the behaviors into its own file such that it's not directly linked with a test. And I guess some of the benefits of this was that originally we had a one-to-one mapping between a behavior and a test. Each line in the conformance.txt file represented exactly one test. By splitting it out into a separate behaviors file, we're now able to, like a lot of times the technically they test multiple behaviors within the span of one test because we wanted to shorten the runtime. But now we're able to sort of list exactly what kind of behaviors we want from Kubernetes, and each test can hit multiple behaviors. So hopefully that should make it a bit more clear for someone just looking at what exactly Kubernetes should do. This is our starter list that we have. We're going to add more, and I'm working on some of the tooling to link these behaviors to the tests. As you can see here, each one of the behaviors has a behavior ID, and this will be linked to the tests. And I'm still working on additional CI tooling to help with that process. And I guess the final final benefit of this is we're able to separate the reviews. So at least the owner files for this versus the tests, we're able to have people only reviewing the behaviors without reviewing the tests because they live in separate directories. And we can also add new behaviors that we don't exactly have tests for. Right now, if we want to add a behavior, we need to first write the test, let it sit in like for 2 weeks or something, and then promote it. but now we're able to directly add a behavior, and then when the test is ready, it'll be linked, but we'll still have the behavior here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my update.
That's exciting to see. Good work, Jeff.
So I stopped the shared Hippie, so you can take over that if you want.
Cool beans.
Share.
I can figure out the technology. I always dread the moment where I click the little green share button and everything collapses into chaos. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very tall.
All right, we'll try to make it a reasonable size so it fits on everybody's screen. So we have a couple of progressy bits. One is the API Snoop CNCF.io. API Snoop has some different aspects of it. One of them is the front web page, and currently, I'll go visit that real quick. API Snoop.cncf.io is a static page that's served up that retrieves data, and we have to go through and add more. It's an older version, but we were wanting to do that where how we use it in cluster and our token is all the same. So this is our coverage over time that we promised. This, I guess it's yeah. So we're putting passwords on stuff for now, just quick. So if you want to go to apisnoop.zz for Zach.ii.coop, it'll show you some points in time. If you put your cursor over one of the dots, it says at this point there was 29.45% conformance tested at the 11th of November. As we go across over here, we got up to 30, and this is just depending on how many data points we add. And so this is still in progress. I appreciate there's some questions that I have in our notes there around what we want from this. This is Zach is on the call as well. If you want to comment on any of these things, but this is currently loading last 3 months. And some questions that might be reasonable. How far back do we want to go? Because our current data only, everything drops off after 3 months. So if we want to go back to earlier releases, we're going to need to specify different jobs that are still around 3 months that we can go back and poll to maybe get the latest version of different things. So this may be something for this front page so that we have data points back to the releases, like the coverage at this release, the coverage at the next release, like X-4 releases should get us to nearly a year and a half. Right?
So you're saying that when you say you can only go back 3 months, that's because the artifacts are dated? Are we keeping the data because we should at least, like with the number of tests, you can go back and pull out of Git each version and count the number of tests since we started. But these test artifacts, like, we should at least keep our cooked data if so that we don't have to go back and reanalyze, or I don't know what we can do.
This stuff is cooked and we've kept it in the larder.
Okay.
And so I know, but I don't know that it's we don't, for some of these, I don't have the raw audit logs. I have the cooked stuff, so I can't regenerate it. Right. It still feels,
it's not ideal.
If we were just to go back and get like stable default, what is this? This takes us back to 113. And that's, and depending on that date anyway. But I think if we look at these jobs and just do all the way back to the third version of stable back, it gives us enough of a background to see where we've been.
Yeah.
As far as and pulling it from live data. So if I was to say my thoughts on here is if we go back to use these 3 jobs. So job this one. Let's do this from. So do from this one. I'm not real good at typing my notes here, but do stable 2 and stable 1, and then the current one, right? And the current one, depending on its time frame, will be X number of days into the release cycle. And this gets us back to a year, I think, right? No, it's one point. it is a year. But I'm open for feedback. We're trying to get where this data that we show on the website is actually coming from live data that's available for other people to start from source 2 and differ on the opinion of how we calculate everything. If I just provide cooked stuff, then nobody else can take the raw ingredients and disagree.
Well, sure. I wouldn't worry that much about that. I mean, if you want to take the raw stuff, existing raw artifacts, and archive them somewhere, they're not going to get deleted, then there's that much raw material. So you've kept your source data, but like.
Let me try a different approach. So we're talking about refreshing data from and we can only do it from 1.12, right? So maybe we do this. We create a CI job that runs once a month, and that goes back and pulls a set of tags. So we'll do the 1.12 coverage, the 1.12 through 1. Whatever's fallen off, right? 16 coverage.
Why though? I don't understand why we would run another job to.
These are static, right? I mean, they are not going to change once the release is.
All right. I'm just trying to figure out where to store them, I guess, because we lose. Maybe we're refreshing the data.
I would keep the cooked data, and you can keep it's the raw. Is it raw audit logs? That's what you need to calculate it.
Yeah, the whole thing is the UI, and the whole app pulls from an existing bucket, and we just need a bucket that has audit logs. And so we just need to have audit logs.
Yeah, we just need a bucket. If you're concerned about losing the source data, I would just archive them in some bucket.
All right. So we need to have audit logs in the buckets from for 1.12, 1.13, and DAX until it's.
If I understand this correctly, I mean, why do we need the audit logs? We can just keep the final results for each of the releases that are already done, right? I mean, those.
I think that would be fine, Srini. I think that it sounds like Hippie's concerned that he wants sort of more transparent discovery, like he wants people to be able to. I don't know that it's that critical that anybody would be able to go back and do that though. Like, what is this? This isn't financial data or something, right? Like, we our own measurement of our own progress. I'm not.
It may make more sense when I eventually we'll be able to link in and go to /coverage. Coverage brings up a bucket, right? And so all of this, there is no cooked data. When you start the API Snoop instance, it loads it into a database.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that database is up, you're good. But these dates are pulled from buckets. When you click on the one, back in February 9th, the URL, I don't know if you can see the URL portion, but I'll paste it into our shared chat. I'm unsure how to chat. There we go. So in the URL, it includes the bucket and the job. And that is the source material that we specify. Like there's just a configuration. We say, go load what's going to be available in the API Snoop UI from these buckets.
Right. So, I mean, so you could copy one, you could create an archive or something if the policy right now for the standard Kubernetes buckets is deletion after 90 days or whatever it is, then.
So have an archive, an API Snoop archive.
Yeah.
Archive bucket for previous releases. And that's what the main API Snoop site uses. Okay, we can make that happen. Zach, do you have any questions on that before we?
No, that sounds smart.
Thanks for the feedback.
And
Srini and John.
do we do periodic for the existing release, or like every week or every 2 weeks?
So the current job, if I go back to the web UI, like this, this bucket definition, I don't know how to pull it up super quickly, but this bucket, this job runs every 4 hours. And so if we were to, I guess would we want to go to, yes, we can find it here. So this job, this is still the report. It would make sense, I think, for the main website to retrieve the results when that every 4 hours when that repeats. So the front website should be current, and then I don't know how many data points we want. So I go back to the beginning of the coverage page. This coverage over time could show the data points, and maybe just show it when it changes. Like, did it increase? Cool, add the point. If it didn't, it's not important. So we can see, well, when it did increase, why did it increase? Might be another when we mouse over it. Oh, it increased because these tests were added. But this is kind of the workflow. What do we want to have on that front area?
But only makes sense if there are any PRs that are more at that point in time. That data shouldn't change.
Monitor for every 4 hours because the job is periodic. Only update the URL with, or the, update API Snoop in general. API Snoop coverage over time when it changes. And the bot will eventually do the same with the list of, this PR increases and decreases. So I mean, our action item is to monitor every 4 hours and only update API Snoop. So this is our action item. And this is our other action item. Any other thoughts on API Snoop CNCF IO coverage over time? I'll take that silence as we're okay.
I think
Going
this
up.
is good, but sorry.
Go ahead.
It looks good, but I doubt whether things will change every 4 hours in the current release, right? I mean, usually only the trigger points is when the API has changed or when a conformance test is checked in or merged. Is that true? I mean, that's how
It shouldn't. So the coverage. So we won't know unless we look at it. It shouldn't change unless there's a PR against tests E to E. As far as, because it could, because I guess the other parts is where we're adding endpoints or anything to alpha, for example, or beta. That stuff will change the way the web UI works without us focusing on the coverage portion. And those things can happen currently kind of outside of anything we monitor. We just want it to be accurate. And that way you can, and I don't know if we want to go to the point of if there was an increase or decrease in anything, why there was a change, why did it change? And that may kind of help give a more of a temperature of things that change within KK as far as the API surface area overall versus the things that we decide are conformant. Because we also have some things that are, just because it's core or just because it's stable doesn't mean it's applicable for conformance. and maybe having this other piece of metadata that says, well, we're not going to worry about these particular endpoints. And possibly this all changes when we just start focusing on behaviors.
Okay, well, it's good to see it going up into the right and being able to measure what we got. And like you said, when we have behaviors, we'll measure it differently. But I think we'll want both measurements.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go away, but
Yeah.
I'm also happy to see it up and to the right, and then multiple perspectives. Like this data that we see here is finally coming from active buckets, and the other data that at the main website is still kind of a manual old JSON processing. It's not from a database. It's just kind of a manual process. If we go down a little bit further, we are still working on the blocking job. It's not forgotten. It's just been lower priority. We now create 5 different images, and they are all run by Prow on the Kubernetes test infra. I can link to those or show you, but it's just cool to see them all working. If I go to GitHub, Tom's CNCF Snoop, when we do, I think it's when we do a PR. So this push here creates all of these nice jobs from the Kate's CI robot. And we'll do more, but right now image was enough. Here is a graph of up and to the right that is just over time from July is when we started writing tests. And before that, we were just measuring it. And so we've really been able to see that precise. The web UI should show this soon, like the over time. We've just got to figure out how to get those back buckets, like we were talking earlier. Any questions over the blocking jobs or the manual test data or the existing API Snoop website? And I'll continue. How do we log into this? Srini, it's II user and II password. Sorry about that. And we were going to do a demo of our workflow, but I think there's enough on the agenda this week that we'll maybe do it next time. We're trying to see if we can't do a workshop for using our workflow at KubeCon EU. Either way, we'll start working with a lot of folks to try to get that going. But for now, one thing that's really helped us is our triage, testing, and promotion workflow. It's somewhat evident in these first 2. I was trying to go through our core replication controller scale. The first promotion PR was, these are all closed, but trying to show you the time frame. And the reason these are on here at all is because this one was closed just recently by the promotion PR. But you see when it was first triaged, it was back in June. And that's a really long, that took us a long time to get to the point where we're writing a test. And I think we may or may not have the promotion here. So there's this other section I was trying to go for. What is the promotion on this particular increase in coverage? Another one that took a fairly long time, but was faster, was our triage issue for core namespace. That took 30 days to get through. And that's just triaging the issue. The triage is always open until the PR closes. And so the PR itself actually only took 2 days. And because it merged on Jan 8th, that meant that it was we could go ahead and get Clayton to approve the merge for the promotion 2 weeks later. So we got core V1 create namespace through in pretty record time. And again, the reason it's on the agenda is that happened 24th of January for the promotion since our last meeting. core V1 limit range, this one started way back, and the promotion process took a month, and it resulted in Clayton writing some speed ups because the test took a long time. And then we also had our test PR closed because let's not break the test apart. And the result was, let's go ahead and promote the existing tests. So it took us from June 12th, 2019 to 20th of January to agree, let's promote the existing test. But we learned a lot along the way, but it was definitely, the process has been hard. I don't want to progress past, I kind of want to find a way, if anybody wants any questions about existing things before I go too fast. Is this of value also, the way that we're doing this? Or do we prefer to go through the board?
I guess I'm wondering what are we trying to learn from this exercise? Are we trying to figure out where we need to improve things? Obviously, we know it takes too long. We're trying to identify which stages are taking a long time.
Yes. It's also to it's part of a teaching tool, I guess, to say, when we go through and write a triage issue, here's the process that needs to be created. And then in one of our meetings, we need to take it from triage to get it in the sorted backlog. And then when you close via the ticket, I'm trying to make it where the workflow of how we make sure the work is ready to be done before we do it is something that other teams and other groups can do as well. And maybe we can simplify this. I just wanted to be pretty verbose in at least one meeting so that I could go back and when I get new test writers on, I can say, look, here is how we run meetings, you know, how we get through, because the target here is increasing coverage, and it just takes these 3 steps. And I don't know, I'm open for feedback. I'm trying to be really verbose, but maybe I'm being too verbose.
No, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So it's sort of a postmortem on the individual tests and how they ended up getting promoted. And yeah, maybe it would be useful to have it distilled a little bit into, are there specific lessons learned from doing this analysis so far? You know, and then point out the examples of where things were terrible.
It's just, I think the thing is having the conversation in the beginning to get that like the main thing we learned here is write the mock test. And the mock test, because of the workflow we use, is really, really precise. And it's in a piece of 2 days to write, and then all we had to do was let it bake. All the work is done in the triage issue step. Otherwise, we get to like core V1 limit range, and it's like 6 months.
Yeah, right, exactly. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that, and we won't have any more of these, right? So this call is really to go, why do you do it this way in this group? And it's because we have to get consensus from so many different people that we can point back to no, SIG architecture agreed at this point that was the work to be done. Let's see. These are okay, like they all just merge. There's no problem here. The story on core V1 limit range, what was we just said on the it's now tests overall. And I think this is where we start to see the increase in speed and velocity, where we started on the 19th of December and we merged the promotion on the 30th of January. And we got 3 endpoints increased. If we look at the actual, you know, mock test itself, we have Emacs org file that generates this entire thing. And the workflow we're using at that point was deploy API Snoop and select things that you think are of interest. And this is the actual 3 endpoints, and documentation, and write the steps, and run this particular snippet of Go code that results in this particular set of output, and make sure that your test actually does this. Is it hit by your new test? Yeah, it gets hit twice. Or these 3 endpoints. And that's all before we do anything. The disagreement can occur in this ticket. And it usually doesn't, because on this meeting we put in all the hard yards to make sure that it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's very thorough.
And so this is super happy, it all merged. And then the next one is list these two more namespaces, and then it merged. And then core V1 template. Hey, we just opened a new PR and promotion. So this is like the next step is, so now we know, like the next time we're only going to have things that are in the triage or test PR, and we'll get to see more of it. The reason this call was a bit long was to go through and show all of it to the point of what happened since the last one. I think we have, like, I didn't get to go through all of them. I ran out of time. But in general, what I was doing is going to our conformance projects board. Make this a little wider. I probably didn't share any wider though. Put it back to there. And I started back here on the right, and I say, what did we do? Did any of the stuff that just get done in the last 2 weeks? We have something that's in needs review that I think we talked about last week, because we didn't do anything with it because it was in the disk area. But we should probably get back to our friend I'm not sure if it's Michelle or Michael. I don't know how to pronounce names really well. But if we want to respond here, it might be good.
Yeah, am I signed on that? You're going to sign me on that. I'll talk to Michelle.
All right, I will go ahead and assign John, you got to spell names right there. It goes all over the place. So we've now assigned, and that's in the needs review and conversation. I'm working on PR Gate, but mainly the infrastructure underneath it, not the thing just yet. This was fix test. So we opened this one. This was create test.
Oh, on that publish not ready one, the last thing, comment on there.
Where's publish not ready?
The one you were just looking
Yeah,
at.
that one here, yeah.
Was it, we were waiting to see if it would work with some.
Og hosts, yeah.
Yeah.
Caleb, you're on the call. Do you want any comments on here?
If you're having trouble getting that to work, Aaron was suggesting, hey, let's just at least getting off of deprecated annotation without any promotion, just fixing the test to do that. And then my comment was just that, well, that's fine, but in order to actually promote this, we need to go to that must.
I did some progress on changing the annotation as suggested. I'm not sure where that went, but I'll follow that up.
Okay.
Bobby, there we go. So there's our update on that ticket. And then this was another one that is still open, and it will add 5. Hey, it's a +5. I like that.
That's before the conciseness of the naming happened. Sorry.
We've got some stuff that's still in our old workflow that's a little more verbose. And this is from 14 days ago, still failed tests. So
Are those real failed tests or those flakes? We've had terrible problems with flakes.
I want to do a retest.
There's a conflict right now, so you're going to have to resolve the conflict before you.
Are there easy? Did I miss that in the?
It's at the bottom.
Oh
there.
yeah, he's got job fails.
No, scroll down right there. It says this branch has conflicts that must be resolved. Not in this, right below the scroll box.
Ah, there we go. See, he's got a rebase. That's fine. So I'm gonna say at Bobby, come on. I'm going please rebase and remove retest, variation retest. Okay, that's what we got on that one. And then that was probably try to open these all at once. That was the one we just did, right? And then promote. We've got a promotion that is back over here. So this feels.
That was waiting on something to do in 117, and I don't know.
Move back into in progress. There's work to be done. So who is on this?
this is in order to promote pod disruption budget. So
It's not going to end up being a promotion if it requires writing. It's got to be separate out. So I almost want to.
no, but they're actually trying to promote that to GA. So they need to.
Sorry. Go back.
You're right. They'll need to add some tests before promoting.
So that's why I want to close it because it can't. It's just a different, or it has to wait for the test. I don't know how we want to handle those. For me, I want to have nothing open for promotion unless it's been.
No, it should be in progress is a reasonable place for it in the board. Right? It's in progress. They're working on it. It's not ready for review.
Let's go. I want to try to take notes on each one while we're here. So we're saying that this is in progress is the correct state. Can we mention our group somehow, like conformance, like just the fact that we touched this and looked at it during our meeting? Because I feel like if I comment on it, it looks at it as me. But I feel like I'd love to comment it on it as the group.
You can see if there's a SIG Arch Conformance.
SIG Arch. So it's at Kubernetes SIG Arch. I may not be part of it.
No. There may just not be one.
Say again?
There just may not be one. I can look into what it would take to get
That's
a GitHub.
The conformance of SIG Arch subconform. We got a funny name this group. The SIG Arch Conformance sub project. Team.
There's some file somewhere that controls what groups exist, and then I guess who's in them. I can look into, or somebody can look into that, but I'll take the action.
I don't even know what to say. We just wanted to note that it seems it's in the right place, so maybe I don't say anything. But I'd love to find some protocol where we know we've touched it.
Right, I understand. Yeah, it's a pain to go through and check them more than once.
So we created the thing for pod disruption budget. That was the more tent one we just looked at, and then there's a create priority class name. And I'm pretty sure this is in our new flow, because here's the where is it? So this is older stuff, right? So here's our September 11th umbrella issue for things, and that issue has already gone stale, which we should probably go ahead and close. And I don't know if we want to close this one. This one's from September.
If they're, there's a lot of comments on that.
A lot of comments. 28 days ago, this was planned out. There were gaps. Specifically, we falsely identified readiness gates as
unhit.
Yeah, and it doesn't increase the metric that we're currently focusing on.
Bad.
This won't make the graph move, and so I'm tempted. I know we want tests, but we have to prioritize. So I don't know, what do we want to do with stuff that doesn't move the needle? And
well, this will eventually move the needle on the behavior stuff, right? That's the point of the behavior stuff, is that it moves that it tests things that aren't necessarily tests just because the endpoint is hit.
Yeah. My suggestion with this is that we move it back into triage and we keep it at the top of the triage, but it's not prioritized yet. Like, where does it sit currently?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm going to open this thing. So this is create priority class name. I'm going to go back into our board, and this is create class name. I'm going to put it back into the triage, and I kind of want to have, like, maybe it's even at the bottom of the sorted backlog. I'm not sure, because it's been sorted. It just needs to wait till, like, right above our umbrella issues. There we go. That was an action, concrete. We have, so I think the browser changed. I can kind of tell where the screen sharing starts. It's like right there. So we're still in progress. We did the more tent, and we did the rewrite replica pod set quota limit. And this was, again, the old style that had an umbrella ticket. And this was based on hitting, so I think this is kind of the same. I'll go to the bottom, and I'm sure we got some area in there, and it was assigned to me, but would it help if I shared these in the channel as we go so people can click on them?
Won't hurt.
All right. I'm gonna go back to the top, because what I'm trying to see is, why are we writing this? And it returns values to fee when it's requested. And so this was promote Replica PodSpec quota limit. And that they didn't like the promotion on it.
Because it was using old.
Yeah, and we got a lot of, we've tried this over and over again. But why part of it, and then, oh, it does, it hits this endpoint. There you go. This was new enough that we did say that it hits an endpoint. And I'm gonna go check API Snoop real quick and see if that endpoint is not hit. What was it? It was, just kind of stick it out here for a minute. Was it a core one? It was replace v1 apps, so that'll be in the apps area. All right, so go back to green. What is apps? What color is apps orange? I need to change my zoom ratio so that I can see stuff a little better. So that is stable apps, and then on this outer ring, it'll be the name of the thing. So if I go back out, this thing is the endpoint. Go grab our endpoint from our, we should link to these at some point. Lost my train of thought. Where was our ticket we were looking at? It was the next one. So that's the string we need to plug into API Snoop there. Is that correct? Yeah, it has a test. This is the test.
No. Okay, so I was just reading through it. The test is wrong, right? So what happened is we tried to promote the test, and the test is not right. And then Caleb, I think, rewrote it to be more correct, but I haven't. This is the first time seeing this PR actually. So if you dig back into his top comments, as if it's fixing the thing as according to this issue, and if you go back and look at that one and look at it, it's because that the way that it was checking was wrong. It would pass in reason when it shouldn't be passing.
Caleb, do you have any feedback? You're on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would probably be good for me to revisit this again. I started on this when I wasn't completely sure how the test should behave, so I'll take a look at it again.
There we go. And I'll help you on that. I want to make sure you got. I've been just too overwhelmed trying to keep all the flow going that actually pick up and do this one. So what the action here is reassign it back to you, and we'll swing back around. That was what we just did. Rewrite that test and the new API chunking test. And then there's a promotion that's just after this. That's the next one we'll do. We still have a few minutes to go through the board. So for this one, retest. PR was updated because we wanted to do pod templates. They said config maps would be easier or more generic. I remember that. And they were reminding us about code freeze. It got moved to I think it just got moved. So what are we actually missing? here. I think Clayton's on the call. No. Caleb, I think you did switch it to not use pod templates, right? You ended up using config maps.
That's correct. In the end, this PR ended up trying to do two things at once. There's a whole lot of deletion, it seems. I think we reconsidered possibly what we were going to be doing with this PR, but that was quite a while ago.
Yeah, it's been sitting a bit. I don't want it to age out of our memory. Hopefully, if we crank through our, we won't run in this again because we're going to use our review process in the test writing before the test. Do you want to resubmit these as with our new workflow, just to make it quick and clear?
Yeah, that might be a better idea.
I think that's just because it's gotten a little bit hairy. So I'm going to go through to conversation, and I'm going to ask to write two different. So closing, and I wish I could say who we were, like closing via, this is our SIG Arch Conformance sub-project meeting at Bobby McBob's to write up to mock test issues based on the two different concepts we tried to merge here. Is that accurate? I'm kind of typing and thinking aloud, but I haven't heard anything.
Sounds good to me.
And so I need to close. Could you just want to do a close? Is that what we do? There you go. And we'll leave that on you to move us. That'll move it out of our in progress to closed automatically. Yay. Promote, do we scroll down? So this is our rewrite. This is our promote scheduler. Does Aaron need anything on this? The promotions are usually pretty straightforward on what our PR promotes these tests. Important soon, milestone. I see these. Is this because of our flakes?
No, I think there was some functional, there was some, this was, I happened to look at one earlier. I don't know if this is the one around preemption and yeah, I think this is the one. This is,
We fixed it, and it's now fixed. But now we need to, and this is just a month ago that we need to. Is that, if it's addressing, then is it ready for re-review? Like, should we move it to needs review?
probably.
It might need a rebase. Actually, should we just type retest to make sure?
It's got a conflict. It needs a rebase.
Yeah. We'll just go. How do we? Who
Just
would
say,
we?
well, it's Aaron's PR, right? So just.
Oh, it is Aaron. Yeah, that's it. There we go. At spiff XP needs rebase, and we're good. Cool. Back to the list. Yay, we're moving things along. That was SpiffX's promotion, and now our pod preempted. That's one we just looked at, right? And we closed. Or
No, I don't think so.
This is the different one. I think these will go a lot faster when we have the other workflow. This is kind of our transition between the pane and the new way. This one is good. And then we did some tests that failed. And then loading all the hidden things. Renamed it, retitled it, more testing. And then we had some flakes, and Dem's toast tired of hearing about it. FadaBot said, I'm done too. Rebase it. He rebased it. And it got to be small when he rebased it, which is great. And I think we just need to retest.
Now the rebase.
Another rebase. So where did he sing that so quickly? It's this branch has conflicts. It's not red enough for my eyes.
Yeah, really, it's gray. Like, why is it gray?
That's the most important. Like, it's not gonna work. Please rebase. All right, good. There we go here. And go back to our list. Needs rebase, and now we're almost through our in progresses. Promote PodPre.
That's the one we just looked at, isn't it?
We just did. And then promote this one. This is MG DevStack's one.
This one was having some flakes, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna just bound to the bottom page end, and it does need a rebase, and we think it's a flake. So we need to add MG DevStack. Spell that. Yay! Needs rebase and retest likely. Okay, back again. Get this flow down. Thank you, MG DevStack. And wow, the scrolly doesn't work as well. So there's a PodSpec. I think these, I'm gonna go ahead and close these. These were ones that we were doing based on umbrella issues and old workflows, and it's just good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say close. This was the older workflow based on PodSpec field coverage increasing PodSpec field coverage. Cool, I got that out of the way. And then will that move it? Yeah, completely moves that out of the thing. Wonderful. And I don't know, this maybe, I was seeking consensus on watch. And I think we said no. But let's go. Consensus is needed for the operation endpoints. And this was an issue, right? It's an issue. And we reviewed it. And I think this may be my KEP. No, it's an issue. I don't think so. What's consensus? I think we should close it in lieu of our process currently is okay, and we're waiting for behaviors. Does that close? That did close, cool. I'll go back to our list. Writing good conformance tests. I think we actually did this, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought that was done a while back.
Document done. And he said in December, good to close. So, and I want to thank, because that was to Quentin. Thanks, Quentin. Quentin, spell his name right. Quentin, for the push to write the docs, and thanks. Yeah, just lots of thanks. Because it was in who wrote the docs? That would be Devin, and Devins for writing them. Cool. Into the close. We're rocking it out. Go back to our list of, that was our in progress. And we got this test images, Windows support. We have 2 minutes. I think next.
You're in done now.
Nah, thank you. Oh, and scroll down, and Windows images, step 1. I suspect next time we come back, we'll have a whole bunch of stuff in the to-be triage, but we just didn't get to it this week. Claude, let's go. I'm gonna hit end to go to the page to the bottom. Last action was yesterday. He's just working on it, so we just leave it.
Okay.
Reasonable?
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody, for
You for hosting.
We'll go back and make sure we did the thing. So our general, I think we did a lot of really good stuff today and learned. And I think we note that the process has been painful in the past and it will be less painful in the future. I look forward to pairing with anybody who's interested on our workflow that captures and creates tickets, all with an in-cluster UI. And eventually, hopefully something that everybody can use. So have a wonderful week, and I'll give you back 30 seconds of your day.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.